Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make a video today to sort of reflect on my first week creating content. You know, it's part of this early days playlist, and a lot of that is, for my own reflection in the future, kind of a time capsule, but also, if the channel happens to gain some traction, get a little success or whatever, we can look back at where it started. So I wanted to kind of just reflect on that. So there's been 8 days since I started this channel, and it's been interesting. It's been fun. There's been a lot of learning, first and foremost. I sort of just jumped in. I didn't have video editing experience. I had public speaking experience, but nothing like this. I never posted to the internet like this. So it was kind of brand new. So I had to learn video editing. I had to learn kind of how this camera works. And I'm still figuring that out. All the settings on a camera, exposure, frame rates, all that kind of stuff. I'm still very much a novice. So it seems like there's a lot to learn. I had to learn how to use Canva to make thumbnails. I had to learn about the numbers that sort of come with this art form. If you want to call creating videos an art form, maybe that's pretentious, but I don't know. It feels like kind of a form of art, form of self-expression. But I had to learn kind of the analytics. Like I learned what click-through rate is, and viewing time and all that stuff. I'm still familiarizing myself with the metrics, and so that's been fun. It's in a week. I feel like I've learned a decent amount, just kind of experimenting. But I've also had to learn to prioritize process over performance. Anybody who's ever started a channel, and if you're just a complete nobody like me, you're not getting hardly any views. My whole channel has less than 100 views over 8 videos. So that's like 10 views per video. And some of those views are me and my girlfriend watching them, clicking on them and stuff. So kind of breaking through that, not focusing on the external validation, and instead sort of focusing on the process has been a challenge. But that's part of the growth process. That's part of jumping in, being a fool, being a nobody. None of you people know me. You don't know who I am or anything. So I wouldn't expect, or I shouldn't expect people to watch. But you do want to see, some kind of growth. And hopefully over time we get more viewers, more subscribers. I think I've picked up 2 subscribers. So anybody who has this illusion that you'll start posting and immediately go viral, I don't know. It's probably not connected to reality, that opinion, but it's been fun. I find myself checking the analytics a lot just to look at the data that's coming in. I've mentioned in previous videos I'm getting a master's in business analytics, so we're kind of trained to look at the numbers and figure out what that means. And so it's a whole batch of metrics that I can kind of jump into and kind of consider. And, the more thumbnails I do, the better click-through rate I seem to get. The more edits I do, the longer retention I seem to have. So I'm learning like the basics, and I'm gonna be learning for months. There's a lot that goes into this. The content is the product, and you, the audience, are paying with your attention. And so I have to figure out how to put out a quality product for your attention, because your attention is valuable. So it's been interesting, to say the least. I'm not as excited about it as I thought I would be. I thought I'd be more energized, but I'm not. So I don't know what that means. Maybe that's just part of the initial overcoming of inertia. Maybe it's because it's only getting 6 views or 12 views or 15 views or 7 views. It's like, but that's where it's turning into prioritizing the process over performance. Not seeking external validation, and understanding like I had this goal for years to make this channel, and I'm finally making it. And if nothing else, I'm capturing moments that I can look back on in the future. If this channel never blows up, if nobody ever watches these videos, at least I can show myself this. If I have kids in the future, I can show them this. Maybe they'll find it interesting. I haven't really shared it with family and friends. I don't know. That kind of makes me nervous, their opinion. They're all loving people, but I don't know. It's kind of like when you create something, you're a little bit sensitive to the judgment from people you care about. You know, if Joe Blow on the internet talks shit about my videos, so be it. You know, you're not making videos, so whatever. I don't really care. But my family, you know, family and friends, you kind of think about their opinion a little bit more. And so I think it really just leads me to an acronym that I learned back years ago when there was a player at Iowa, and he eventually played for the Giants. His name was Tyler Sash. He's no longer with us, but he used to say GBNB, get better, not bitter. You know, it's been a week, hardly any views. I could get bitter about it and get discouraged that nobody watches, but it's only been a week, you know. People stay at this for years before getting some sort of an audience. So, got to just get better. Got to get better at my edits, got to get better at my thumbnails, got to get better at my delivery. Just got to get better basically in every way, honing this craft as a hobby and not worrying too much about the lack of views. So, those are just some initial thoughts about this week. It's been interesting. It's been fun. You know, I've got to learn some stuff, like I said, but it's not some immediate smash hit. I didn't really expect that, but definitely isn't. So if you think, you know, you're going to come online, it's going to be some smash hit, maybe temper your expectations and just focus on getting better, not bitter. All right? Godspeed on all your future endeavors.